4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hi, everybody.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
We're finally in the same room at the same time. This is episode 5?
Yeah, this is a special occasion. I'm visiting Jason at his Airbnb in Sacramento.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Episode 5, starting from scratch.
Starting from scratch.
Let's go.
Number 5. So, today, it's a Saturday, and it's actually interesting because Saturdays usually I do my errands and stuff, but I didn't do any errands today, and I just felt like going somewhere.
Okay.
So I was on my way to Half Moon Bay, right? And then you hit me up on the way to Half Moon Bay, and I was like, should I just like, cheat today and just go like hang out, or should I put in the work and do a podcast?
Okay.
And I just decided to come here instead. So
Nice. I'm glad you can make it.
I know.
Cool. What were you planning to do at Half Moon Bay? Just like check out the scenery?
I don't know. I've never been there, so I just wanted to go there and just check it out. Yeah.
Nice. Half Moon Bay it's a cute place. I've been there, I think, once or twice. They have a few good like seafood restaurants over there.
Oh,
so
date spot?
It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's pretty cute.
Yeah. It's probably because like I was at the event yesterday, and there was a lot of girls.
Oh, okay.
And I'm feeling all like, wanting to be in a relationship.
Oh, okay.
So it's like taking my lonely ass self to, cope at a nice romantic place, to have a nice romantic dinner all by myself.
All by yourself.
Yeah, man. I feel like as you grow older, you have to kind of learn how to enjoy the day with yourself more often than not, especially as an entrepreneur. It's a very lonely road.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy my time in solitude. Like sometimes I surprise myself of how okay I am just like hanging out alone in the house. And sometimes I feel like I should go out and do something. I should hit somebody up.
No, I definitely feel that. I'm totally okay with just like being in the room forever, but I don't know what effect that has on me. So that's why I try to get myself to go out. Yeah.
That's true. I think literally every time I walk outside and like take a breath of fresh air, it just feels so much better.
Yeah.
And I think to myself like, oh my God, why don't I do this more often? And I would go like either jog or take a stroll around the neighborhood. It feels so good. So then I start thinking like, oh, what am I doing to my body? Like you said, but I just get stuck inside all day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you need a balance, right? I think, there's ways to be productive inside, but if you're not optimizing, you should definitely go outside and mix it up.
That's true. Yeah. I do get some pretty good ideas when I'm walking around outside.
Yeah.
And I get like more creative thoughts going on in my head versus if I was to just stay inside all the time.
For me, I think it's kind of opposite. I tend to think a lot when I'm alone and in my room. The reason why I get myself to go outside is so that I don't think.
Oh, okay.
I
see. So then you can you can see the scenery. Yeah. And then you
just go interact with other things.
Okay.
Stop getting trapped inside my head.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Just to clear up my mind. Yeah. That was like my Saturday. How about you? Oh, you had your.
Oh yeah. First. Okay. So today I did my first ever coffee experience, like a coffee tasting experience on Airbnb. You know how Airbnb was doing like their experience thing?
Yeah.
So like hobbyists and experts can host their own experience, whether it be painting or taking a stroll or guided meditation, something like that. So since I've been really interested in coffee, I've been doing a lot of like exploring on my own, trying different coffees, brewing methods and roasting methods. So I decided to just set up an experience.
That's cool.
I had my first guest today.
That's really cool.
It was a really good experience. I learned a lot about how to make the next experience even better.
So what includes in the experience?
The experience, basically, I would give a quick, brief like history of coffee. Well, not really history, like a
Yeah.
brief rundown of what coffee is, and how when you roast it at different levels, you can have different tastes, and
Yeah.
how coffee beans from different regions of the world tend to have different flavors.
Wow.
And so I talk about that, and then I specifically bought green coffees from different growing regions in the world, like Africa, Asia, and like Central and South America. And I roast them a couple days before the experience. So they're like freshly roasted and ready to go. I had like 6 different coffees. And then together, me and my guest, we just like went around the table and we taste all the different coffees and see the differences in flavor and try to bring out the nuances between each.
Just so tasting the beans, not the brewed coffee.
Oh, brew it. We
Oh, you
brew it.
brew
Yeah,
it. You
yeah.
brew
We don't
all
we
sorts of
don't
it?
just like eat the coffee beans. Yeah.
Ah, I see. I
So
see.
we grind them. We smell the dry grounds, and I brew everything at the same time.
Oh, that's
And there's
cool.
this thing where we like break the crust to get the first aromas to come out when it's brewing. Once that's done, then we go around the table.
Wow.
Yeah, because um since they're all coffee, they have that base level coffee flavor, right? When we
Yeah.
drink coffee.
Right.
And since they're all the same, that becomes the background. It's like the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And what stands out are the different flavors between each coffees.
Interesting.
And that allows you to have a more heightened perception of these differences.
Okay.
Versus if you drink like a Colombian coffee this day and then some other coffee another day, it's harder to remember what you tasted the day before.
Right.
And then, but when you put them side by side, one after another, it like jumps out at you.
Right.
Yeah, I've attended a few cuppings, that's what they're called, before, and it was really interesting. So I wanted to do one for myself.
Cool. What did the guests think?
She thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
She's not like a big coffee drinker, but she saw it. She saw it on the website, the Airbnb experience website, and she was in town for a vacation, and she wanted to give it a shot.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So she was traveling by herself, and then she
Mhm.
just found this coffee experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Like, how was she also interested in coffee or something, or?
I mean, yeah, she was kind of interested, but she was not like a big coffee person.
I see. I wonder. That's very interesting. I wonder why they would like. What's the psychology behind like? Oh, try this coffee thing out.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes them decide to pick this one versus because there's other
Other
experiences,
experiences,
right? There's
yeah.
like painting and there's like this cocktail making class
Yeah.
too.
It just
So
literally means like you can do anything in this world and make money.
that's true. Whatever your expertise is,
Yeah.
right? You can bring value to people. You can show other people what you're passionate about and what
Yeah.
you've been spending your time on.
Yeah, I mean, more and more with these platforms, like anybody with any hobbies or interests, you can literally monetize that nowadays. Like before, like parents would say, don't do art, don't do sports. It's not gonna make any money, right? But now you see all these fitness models,
Yeah,
fitness
that's true.
trainers, personal trainers, just
Yeah.
making so much money, right? For the past 10 years, they were hearing the opposite, but they just did it because they loved it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, now anyone can find their own audience, their little
Yeah.
piece of the pie.
Yeah.
And even athletes, if they don't end up playing professionally, they're in the space and they're passionate
Yeah.
about it. They can become like a commentator.
Yeah, you no longer have to be like working at McDonald's because you didn't make the draft, right? Like there's enough resources and information to become a coach or whatever, you know.
True, become a coach.
Before those fields are like so saturated and competitive. I think that's why they got pushed out. But now there's like everybody, there's people that wanted to learn, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can package your skills and experience into marketable product and then sell it.
That's true. One interesting thing was I was reading this article recently. It was talking about the distribution of I guess consumption of music. So
Okay.
because of the internet, like Spotify and iTunes, you would think that because everything is online, it would be better for, say, independent artists or less well-known artists to get some listens. Like people
Okay.
would check out their songs, but somehow it shifted the other way, where like the top singers and performers get even more attention, which is
Mm.
really really odd for me, and I wonder why that is.
Hmm.
Because intuitively, you would think because of the internet, people can display their own unique sound, and of course, you would resonate with people that like that distinct sound.
Mm.
It would be, I guess, you would see a flatter distribution.
Oh, I
But
see what you
yeah,
mean.
but then that article was saying that like the top, like
Because I
mm,
think what it does is like it probably gain interest of those people of music. Let's say like people aren't interested in music, right? And
mm,
then they hear your music and they get interested in music. But like the big brand, big artists,
mm,
they're they're using like the golden formula, right?
mm,
In their production, the music, the composing, there are millions of dollars in that. So I guess it's kind of like a trickling effect, trickle up effect,
okay,
you know. So they discover music and then they discover the newer music, more popular music, more
uh,
like
okay,
more
okay,
general pop, right?
I see. So then now it becomes even easier for people to consume those super popular artists'
Right.
material.
Yeah.
Okay. Versus before, if you walk into a record store, you might see like a shelf, a few displays of different CDs.
Mm-hmm.
Versus now, if you go online, it's like everybody's SEO'd out. So
Right.
like all the top players are gonna be at the top
Yeah.
because they have really good SEO. They have teams designing the campaign for them and everything.
Right. And I'm pretty sure like whatever platform these indie artists like um launch to it probably is probably dominated by like the mainstream artists too, right?
Mm,
Because
mm-hmm.
they're usually like remaking their songs or mashing up like the popular music,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
So
that's true.
yeah, but that's very interesting because one discussion I had actually yesterday with my friend Daniel is how I told you about the whole my personal app idea.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, what I think is gonna happen is everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of the individuals will probably have their own application,
Mm,
like a mobile application, right?
okay.
And you kind of see that happening already, right? So it's kind of like how everybody has a car these days,
Mm,
right? Before
mm,
nobody thought that every individual will own their own car.
right. Yeah, and the computer.
In the computer too, they
Yeah.
said maybe three house will have a personal computer,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now a person has like 7 computers.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Yeah.
I have like 7 8 devices for
Mm,
myself attached, right?
mm-hmm.
A Kindle, I have 3 notebooks, 2 cell phones,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a bunch of stuff.
Wow.
So
Okay. Yeah,
what my
for
friend was
sure.
saying basically when I explained the personal app idea,
Uh,
and I made a distinct example of like the fitness personal trainers, especially like girls, right?
mm,
On Instagram, because a lot of girls are doing Instagram modeling,
mm-hmm.
right? And imagine you could contain their audience into their personal app, right? Then he was saying, oh, does that mean that like they're gonna like pull out the people from Instagram, right? Does it mean like the big apps are gonna die?
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought, oh, that's true. But I'm like, no, because Instagram hasn't even reached like the full capacity of the world,
Okay.
right?
I see.
There's so much room for growth for Instagram, right? If anything, it'll help them grow even more, right?
Mm,
And the thing is, even at the rate of their growth, the population is probably growing faster, right? So, I mean, population is still growing every year.
mm-hmm.
So, I think it has the same um, effect as what you just said with the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger platforms will never like really die out unless they get um, disrupted by a new vertical idea, new
Okay.
innovation that just changed their market entirely, like Amazon did to retail.
I see.
Yeah.
Right.
But even retail kind of sustains, like Walmart is, they're trying really hard to catch up, right? So in that sense, they will have to kind of figure out how the thing's gonna work between the personal app and like the Instagram. But it's just like an addition to their channel. Like the influencers are gonna use both Instagram and the personal app. It just means a step two channel to make more income.
I see.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, and with the personal app, you have like direct access to your audience.
Yeah.
So
And maybe even more exclusiveness because you don't have to conform to the rules of Instagram. But here's the thing, it gets really scary now that it gets so easy to like brainwash people and then turn people into cults. Like imagine if politicians had their own app, right?
okay.
And you generate followers and then they listen to, it's all about the communication and the trust between people, right? And then like cell phones are medium in communication for people nowadays. So if you have a massive following and you are the person these guys like hear the news from, and then you tell them something, you can have so much influence in how
Yeah.
they take in information.
Yeah, you can have if you're all they listen to, then you can dictate exactly what they think about
Yeah,
because you're the only voice that they listen to.
exactly.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of scary to think about it that way, but I mean, I feel like it's possible because like that's what Facebook is getting so heated for, right? It's like the censorship, you know, are you controlling the data, right? So it's like just getting to the point where you can have that power individually is it's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. It's crazy. Would you have your own personal app, John?
I think I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say on there?
So I was thinking about that actually, and I think I want to make an app around the whole goal setting thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you
Yeah.
can have you would have your own, I guess, functions in there, and
Yeah.
you have different things that people can use to help them set goals.
Right.
And then you can set reminders, like notifications, with your
Right.
own voice, like, "Hey, bitch, did you finish your goal for October?"
Yeah. So I would be. I was thinking about it. I was like, so what industry would I be in, right? And I'm like, maybe a personal coach, right? So I actually wanted to get my friends' opinion, like what you guys would judge or rate me as a personal coach, and would you pay for my service? Like, would you? Do you
Oh,
think
you're
I'll be a
asking me? Oh,
yeah?
okay.
Do you think I'll be a good personal coach? And would
Well,
you
I'm
pay?
getting free coaching right now, so I don't know if I paid for that.
Yeah. Right.
But I think if there's an app that you've created
Yeah.
and it has good tools that you've gathered and put together into this one cohesive thing,
Yeah.
I would definitely check it out.
Okay.
And then once I'm in that ecosystem, once I'm using everything and subscribing to it,
Yeah.
then I'm susceptible to whatever it is that you want to, I guess, market to me.
Right.
And as long as it makes sense for me and you vouch for this product or service or this thought,
Yeah.
I think I would definitely give that more weight.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I really like helping people and improving like everybody's life, my own life too. And I think this whole goal setting thing is really powerful. I think people are not going to really accept it in the beginning and nor pay for it. But I think it's a simple idea enough that I can just make an app for it and use it as a tool to just engage people. Like you said, just like set reminders like quarterly, yearly, bi-yearly, and then just remind them with the notification. Yeah, it's time to set your new goals, right?
Okay. Could you give a quick breakdown on the goal setting sessions?
Oh, the goal setting session? Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of times people struggle with achieving what they set out to do because of clarity and clarity as like a whole picture, right? So in the short term thinking, you might set some short term goals, but it's like a lot of times you think, why do I do this? There's no point of doing this, you know? So I thought about it. So like the goal setting exercise we did, the way we do it is, we kind of we look far ahead, right? So you eventually want to become this better version of yourself, right?
Okay.
And you might not have a clear vision of it, but the whole point of the exercise is that you want to just make some general assumption, right? Because it could change, right? It could change, but what you want to do is like you want to draw this general assumption and pick one target, and then see if this is correct as you move towards it.
Okay.
And
Like a financial target and
so it could be financial. So I like to divide it into 3 or 4 segment, which is
Okay.
wealth, health, happiness, and your love life, right? So we have 4 different categories of goals, and good target is that you wanna try to set a specific goal for each of those target at age 60, right? So
Okay.
at age 60, what defines your wealth goal, and then what defines your health goal, what defines your happiness goal, and what defines your love goal, right? So it can be like at 60, I want to have $100 million worth of assets, right? And health goal would be I want to be able to run a half marathon at 60.
Okay.
And then happiness is like I want to be able to help like 1,000 children a year. And then love life would be I want to be married and have like 4 grandchildren, right? And then host a gathering at my house or something like that. Something general, right? Nothing specific.
Okay.
And then what you do is, since you are able to draw that general goal at 60, now you kind of break it down by decades, right? So at 50, what do you have to do to get to your 60s goal? And now we're putting a pretty big gap here because we don't know how you're gonna get there, but we're just breaking it down just to see how much you have to break down to get to your current age, and then see what you need to make to get there. So at 50, you might break it down to, okay, since my 60s goal is like 100 million, maybe I'll target for 10 million.
Okay.
Right? And then again, breaking down to your 40s, if you need to make 10 million, then at 40, maybe $1 million.
Okay.
Right? And then
Right.
if you're in age 30 right now, then you have a whole year to make $1 million worth of assets. And now it doesn't seem so impossible to make the 100 million, right? Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense. If you and if you follow that scale, like that logarithmic, I don't know if it's logarithmic or not, but like if you can scale from $1,000 to 10,000,
Yeah.
and then if you take 10, make it 100, you
Yeah.
make 100 to $1 million,
Yeah.
then it makes sense that you can just keep that progression going as
Yeah.
long, provided that you keep pushing with the same intensity and you apply everything that you learn in the long time. So then that means that session allows you to connect yourself today
Yeah.
with this far off future
Yeah.
that you envisioned.
right.
Okay. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Because then it connects. It gives me that push. It's like, okay, I'm doing this because it'll one day lead to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's definitely 2 parts to it, I think. There's more of the granular part where you have to kind of break down like how you're gonna get to that $1 million, right? So you might be already in your 30s and you might already have a certain job, right? So now that your goal at 40 is $1 million and you're here working, let's say, a sales job, right? Then you have to break down at 35 how much sales numbers do I have to push, right? And then, okay, is that feasible, right? If not, you don't need to find a solution right now, but you have to figure out how much you can push your sale. Like, okay, I might be able to I know a guy that pushed sale up to $350,000, right? Then you know you have a deficit of $150,000, right?
Okay.
So then now what you do is your mind is gonna start thinking about different ways to fill that $150,000, right? And this is where like the whole law of attraction comes in effect. Now your mind's gonna be actively looking as you live your day to figure out how to make the $150,000 with the extra time you have, right?
Okay.
And then once you start developing that muscle, you will use the same repetitive pattern to make the other $500,000 to complete the million, and then create more, get more opportunities to make the 10 million, right?
Right.
Yeah. Because we can never define it. We won't know what you're gonna be doing at 40, 50, but we're putting a definitive goal, so then your mind will figure out that your goal is there, and you
Right,
need to
yeah.
fill that gap somehow, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that connection is really important for me, and I can see how it can be really useful for me personally, because if I can see that connection, then I can just go and do what I need to do. I wouldn't have to always worry about like, oh, is this actually gonna take me to where I want to be, wherever that is.
Yeah.
And I've always dealt with this indecision where I don't know if this is absolutely what I should do in order to get to some place that
Right.
that I vaguely defined or
Right.
not even envisioned. But with this, I can just do it, and I can always change my path. I can always
Yeah.
pivot, and as I learn more things, as I develop, I can have a better idea, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I would be way more ahead than
not
if I
doing
didn't
anything.
do anything at all.
Right.
Inaction is going to be one of like the worst things for me. The biggest causes for any shortcomings that I have is coming from inaction.
Yeah. So like Friedrich Nietzsche, he describes spending your day mindlessly is like the worst way to spend your day, right? So this thing, once you plan it out to a quarterly and your daily goals, then you're gonna know whether you spent your day mindlessly or not, right? So at least you'll have some kind of accountability to take to yourself, and then just try to improve, and you know,
Right. Wow.
just take responsibility.
I wonder how many people just spend their days mindlessly. Because I've spent a fair share of those days, and I wonder
Me too.
how many other people are doing that most of the days that they
What's
go through.
interesting is that I think that like there were some days where I really thought that I'm not spending it mindlessly, but looking back, I was.
Okay.
Because
Because you were distracted?
no, because I usually never set goals
Oh, okay.
like this before. I would set like short-term goals.
Okay.
That's it. And that's the reason why I couldn't accelerate as fast as I want. Because I would achieve that goal and I would waste time looking for the next goal, right?
Oh, instead of knowing exactly what you need to do. 'Cause
Exactly.
It's all been mapped out.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So you just keep on going, right? You already know you got here, so you know what your next goal is generally, and you're on this path of going to that goal, right? And this gives you relative reminder, like whether you're ahead or you're behind too, right?
That's true.
Yeah, a lot of people when they reach a short-term goal, what they do is like you rest.
Oh,
Oh, since I deserve it, right? I do that too. I'm guilty. I do it. I'm doing it. I did it for the past 2 weeks. You know, just taking an extra couple hours in the bed to sleep, right?
Wow.
But those hours are gonna add up, and I'm behind now, right? But yeah, that's the hard part. Even if you set the goal, and it's just hard to execute on it. But the best thing you have to do is just like getting people to do it, so you have some accountability to yourself.
Okay. I mean, I definitely do that, where I have my list of to-dos, and I do like the big ticket items, and I do a good amount. It's like, all right, cool. I think I did a lot today, and then I'm gonna rest now. I'm gonna pull up some YouTube or Netflix or whatever, or go hit up somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess just because I do have goals and they're there, but there's no explicit plan every day on how I'm gonna get there. I think the goal setting thing that you described earlier is like it can be really powerful because there's these progressive goals. Of course, further off in the future, it's going to be like 5 and 10 year gaps. But then as you get closer to today, then you start to fractionate.
Yeah.
And then you fractionate to a point where now you're down to the next, say, 3 months. And in the next 3 months, you know exactly what you need to hit every month. And say this month you break it down. Now it's not a plan anymore. I mean, now it's not a goal anymore. It's a
plan.
it's a schedule.
It's a schedule
for you to
right?
follow exactly. That becomes your goal that you hit if you
Yeah.
follow the schedule. That means if you don't follow the schedule, if you say, "Oh, I did a lot today. I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
hang out for a little bit." Now you're behind, and you
Yeah.
know you're behind because you have all these other things
Yeah.
in the next several weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's cool because it's measurable, right? So after the 3 months, you're gonna notice it. You can actually look at the numbers and fact and data and say, you don't have to feel bad about not achieving the goal, but it's a proof that like you didn't push hard enough and you fell short. So like if you did, you would hit those numbers, right?
True. Yeah.
So it's a validation. So then the next quarter you can try hard to hit that goal, and outperform that goal, right? And I think that delay gratification, that feedback loop is what we need at the macro level. It's easy to go into the YouTube, Instagram for the short-term gratification and go into the short-term feedback loop, right? But this is what we really need to practice. Yeah. And by having these goals around you, the 4 different type of goals: finance, health and wealth, and love. Like you mentioned, like you finish one goal and you would kind of reward yourself with YouTube. So in a sense, you can reward yourself with working on a different goal, right? So you finish one goal. So instead of going to open up Netflix and watching something mindlessly, you can just kind of like read a book or work on the next project on your health goal, right?
Right.
Scheduling out your workout, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
there's tasks around those things that you have to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could like learn a new song on the guitar.
There we
That's
go.
like immensely pleasurable for me. And it's also like a goal for my happiness.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So if you did break down and said that, oh, I want to learn 10 new songs by this year, then you have a task in hand. So you're not going to go watch YouTube, Netflix, right?
True.
Yeah.
And you hear so many people say that scheduling well, having a planner gives you more time.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh, yeah.
it's actually like less restricting when you have a set schedule versus if you have no schedule at all.
Yeah.
Because then you spend a lot of time not knowing what you're actually supposed to do, and you waste time. And then when you do kind of slack off and you have fun, you feel guilty about it
Yeah.
because you know there's work to be done. Versus when it's all in the plan, you just follow the plan.
Yeah, exactly.
There's less worry.
Yeah.
And for me, as a person that thinks a lot, and when I'm doing one thing, my mind can go off and think about what I need to do next or concurrently. That can get pretty stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people tend to not give themselves a schedule or deadline because they hate the feeling of failure. Because they don't want to do it by that deadline, so they give them an infinite time of deadline, right?
Right? Yeah.
So you never
Because
have
there's
to
no
finish
deadline,
it.
you don't have to fail.
Yeah, you don't have to finish it, you don't have to fail.
Yeah.
So it's not about like you just have to get away from that mindset. It's not a failure or not. It's just a feedback loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll feel good no matter what because you're validating one idea. Oh, it didn't work. Do it again.
Yeah. Setting deadlines for yourself is hard.
It is.
It's hard to set a deadline for yourself. Well, one, a lot of people might not even think to do that because why are you imposing limitations on yourself? Because a deadline sounds like a limitation. Also, it can be dangerous in a way that you set yourself a deadline and then it's coming up.
Yeah.
And you're nowhere near finished. And the deadline comes and goes like, oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
And then if the minute someone says, oh, it's okay, then you've laid the first brick. That sets you up for a habitual sort of dismissal of your own personal deadlines and goals.
Right.
And that becomes a habit loop. Then it's going to be even harder for you to break that habit, to be more, what's the word, discipline for yourself, and that's so dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot that goes into really executing and building the correct habit to accomplish all the goals. But it's all of them are necessary. You know, goal setting is necessary. You need a target, and then the practice is necessary too. So, my personal app, I'm not sure I how I would actually engage them into getting their goals into an action or habit, because everybody would have such a different goal. So in that sense, I feel like people won't maybe engage with the app too much, but I don't know. I think the app setting, the goal setting will be so important, regardless.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really impactful
Yeah.
on someone's life.
Yeah, and it's like we've done it. It's such a tedious process to map out the
It
whole
is,
thing.
yeah, like 2 hours
Yeah,
or something.
you think you could do it in 15 minutes, right? Just fucking try it.
Yeah.
Pull up a piece of paper and then write down 60, 50, 40, 30, and then write down the goals, and then break down your first year into 3 quarters. Try doing it. See how long it takes.
Yeah, because you really have to think.
Yeah.
As you go down, as you increase your specificity,
Yeah.
then it becomes, what do I need to do every week
Yeah.
in the next quarter?
Yeah.
And then well, maybe not every week, maybe every week in this month. That means what do I need to do every day this week?
And it's the one thing that was really hard for me was picking what I like. What is actually the most important thing about me? Like you can't write 10 things at 60, because that means you're gonna trickle down the 10 things into 20 things at 40. Because you gotta do like 30 things to get there, right?
Yeah,
So you just have to pick one thing to get there.
that's
right?
true.
So you gotta.
True. It's even a lot that we have like 3-4 categories.
Yeah.
Just to hit 3 or 4 categories, it takes most, if not all of our time. So that tells people, and especially myself, how much time we're spending on shit that don't matter,
Oh yeah.
or just maybe distractions
Right.
that might feel like something important
Right.
in that time.
Yeah.
And it really forces you to really think about what's most important. Like for me, I have a bunch of interests and a lot of things I want to do, but that exercise forces me to really think about what's important to me.
And yeah, those are the general structure, and then as you live your life, you decide what's gonna be important to hit those goals. Like for me, I discovered new books. I discovered a new book series. Now that's your responsibility to like schedule it. Okay, reading this book is gonna cost like it's gonna take 3 months. So schedule it for the next quarter. Schedule it for the quarter after, right? Start scheduling it. Like set yourself a deadline where you're gonna finish this, right? Spread them out, and then by 40, like I think I talked about the whole great books. I think it might take literally 10 years for me to finish the whole series, right? So at 40, I'll finish this book series. But let's see at 40 how this book is gonna change my life. Right?
True. Yeah.
It might actually help me get to my whatever my wealth goal was at 40, which was like 10 million, I think. Right? Yeah. So maybe so that's how you start beefing it up, like giving yourself some tasks to do, so you don't waste your time on YouTube. And it actually, there's a lot of small tasks in between, because I don't even know where to get the 60 book series, right? So I had to figure out where to get these books, right? Either I have to make the money to buy the books. I think the book series is like $700, right?
Like for the whole thing, or okay.
The whole book series is like this big,
Okay.
right? So if I want to get a
So
physical copy,
somebody packaged it.
yeah. So Adler,
series?
Mortimer Adler, the author that I told you about, he actually created the whole book series. So they sell it as like a collection.
Interesting. So do you think they make a margin on that?
I'm not sure.
Like what they charge is more than what the individual books might cost if
probably.
if you pick and choose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So my goal is to go to like bookstores and thrift shops and try to pick them out, you know? So
I think that would be more fun personally
is.
for me
Yeah.
versus like dropping 700 on 60 books.
Yeah.
That's like, well, I mean, I guess that's like $11-12 per book.
Again, yeah,
So it's
exactly.
Not too bad. But still, like some books are not $10.
Yeah, you could
Like
probably
meditations is like
probably like
$5.
$2. Yeah, you could
three
find it.
dollars maybe.
Yeah, so there's those tasks that you have to break down. So now you have to actively looking for these things and like go to like a bookstore thrift shop to look for these books, right?
True. Or order
Yeah.
it off Amazon.
So
or
you
something.
you have to start making this conscious decision of like putting those activities prior to watching YouTube.
Okay.
So
That's true.
yeah, so
and
start
it's more fun.
start
I
enjoying that.
think.
Yeah, just make sure that
Yeah.
you think that that's more enjoyable than like just watching YouTube clips. Yeah,
It's almost like getting a gym badge in Pokemon.
yeah,
You have these 60 books, and then
Yeah.
you finish one. It's like, oh, cool, I got my gym badge.
yeah. Because no one's gonna be telling you what to do anymore. After you're 18 and 21, you left your mom's and dad's house. Like there's nobody telling you what to do,
Yeah.
right?
When you're used to having someone telling you what to do, you don't have to worry about the consequences of important decisions that you need to make because you didn't have to make any major decisions.
Yeah,
You just went to school and got good grades, and that's
Yeah.
it. But then now it's up to you to make your own decisions and set deadlines for yourself.
And
Give yourself
it's-
responsibility.
It's crazy how rudimentary like a lot of these decisions are, but they compound into a big decision, right? So
I see.
so that's what's important. Like you know you have to start learning how to make those small decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those decisions. So, I actually wanted to talk about mindset this
Okay.
podcast.
Yeah.
And on the topic of making decisions, your decisions are greatly influenced by your mindset. Because it starts with your mindset, depending on how you see the world, how you perceive your reality. That can dictate the type of things that you think about. Your perspective dictates what you think about on a daily basis. And because of that, through those lens, you would make certain decisions that are more in line with the kind of mindset that you have. And because of these decisions, it'll take you down this road in your life to a certain place. So you end up to point A or point B depending on your mindset,
Yeah.
which is insane. Like
Oh,
like
yeah.
what you're talking about when you're saying, what is it? What is that term?
Which one?
Law of attraction.
Love
Yeah.
attraction.
So that's like a manifestation of
Yeah.
law of attraction.
Right.
Because something so ethereal, so esoteric as your mindset can translate into your physical reality and where you are in life and what you've done and
Yeah.
where you physically are.
That's
It's crazy.
crazy.
It's all just from a decision to have a certain mindset.
Yeah. It is.
And
It
maybe
really
no,
is.
and it could be no decision at all because a lot of people, they grow up under certain environments and situations that develops a certain type of mindset
Yeah.
in their life. And there's
Yeah.
different kinds of mindsets. There's the growth mindset versus fixed mindset when it comes to intelligence and capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Einstein's famous quote. Like one of the most important decisions you can make is to decide if you're living in a friendly or a hostile universe.
Yeah.
That's a big one for
I
me.
like that one. Yeah.
And that's also in parallel with the scarcity mindset versus the abundance mindset.
yeah.
And they're all similar things, but they're all mindset.
Yeah.
And it's like it's either a conscious decision or something that you've been inundated with through your childhood. You've decided,
Yeah.
consciously or not, to have these perspectives about life,
Yeah.
and that'll ultimately dictate what happens to you.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
think some
insane.
people are lucky to have some mentor. Your parents give you a good mindset.
Right. People that have thought deeply about it and
Yeah.
have had enough life experience to really understand how
Yeah.
important that is.
Yeah. And to some people, probably came about as like a traumatic experience, their mindset, and they're trying to break out of it. Right.
It's hard to have a mindset of abundance if you grew up in poverty and
Exactly.
everything is scarce.
Yeah.
You grab while the grabbing is good.
Yeah, because everybody's reaching for your plate,
Mm-hmm.
and now your habit and your trained to defend for scarcity. You're not abundant. You're not used to giving, right, and open.
Yeah.
You're more defensive, closed, right? And that's like now you're in a hostile world. You're not in a friendly world.
Yeah.
You can't trust them with your plate, right? You can't
Yeah.
trust other people with your plate.
And all the
So
decisions that you make is coming from that place. So instead of say offering up lots of value, like if you just give out a free course
yeah,
and you put out free content showing people how to do something that's gonna help others, just because you want to help people, because there's abundance in the world and you're not worried about people using that to take any resources away from you. You're not holding that secret to yourself.
yeah,
Right? But then someone with a scarcity mindset is going to hold that to themselves.
yeah,
And that time and time again is not the way to go.
yeah,
You'll end up with less if you try to hold everything yourself.
yeah.
It's just a fascinating concept to think about.
Yeah, I mean it's much deeper and much more complex than we can explain, but um yeah, it's something that you really want to examine yourself. You want to, I think Socrates was it that said like an examined life is not worth living, right? So you you really have to look at your life, examine like how you were impacted and influenced, and mapping it to the version of yourself that you want to be, and try to see that if you need to make changes, right? If you need to really change, right?
Okay. So yeah, earlier you said an unexamined life
It's not worth
is
living.
not worth living.
Yeah.
Okay. So you should really like put yourself under a microscope and
Yeah.
really look into the details about what exactly you're doing, what
Yeah.
exactly you're thinking about.
And why you're the way you are, because
Okay.
it might not be your choice, right? It might be the way you're upright, where you were taught, where your parents taught how you told you how to think,
Okay.
told you how to say
I
things,
see.
right?
Ah. And that was Socrates'
I
quote?
think that was Socrates. Yeah,
Smart man.
yeah, smart guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a question. So I'm sure I guess you've been kind of reading a lot of personal growth, and you're talking about mindset, and you must have tried really hard to kind of shift some of your mindset, right? So tell me like what like tell me the process of like how you became aware of certain mindsets that you want to change, and like how you took the steps to try to change that.
Well, one thing that hits close to home for me is I believe I grew up with a fixed mindset when it comes to like cognitive abilities, intelligence. Because I think it's because when I was a kid, uh, the academic system suited me. I was fine, like just absorbing information and regurgitating it the next day. And I was like objectively good at school.
Okay.
And then in terms of intelligence, maybe I have some processing power that is capable enough to do well in school.
Yeah.
So then when I do well, it would be like, oh, Jason, you're so smart. Cool. So then now young Jason is going to install in his firmware like, okay, I got an A because I'm smart. I'm able to understand these complex ideas and these hard subjects because I'm smart. And I carry that through high school, through university. And anytime, let's say if I'm behind several chapters in terms of studying or reading, and I wouldn't feel like, oh shit, I'm behind. I need to like work hard to catch up, block out extra time to study. I'll just like, oh, I'll just kick into overdrive, let the raw processing power take care of itself.
Interesting.
So I would just pull all-nighters, absorb everything in, and do like not great, honestly, in college.
Like
But
read
okay,
all of
I
it.
can
Yeah.
survive
Yeah.
through raw power alone. But that was not good
Mm.
because then eventually I realized that that gave me a fixed mindset. Because then when I come up to a subject that I don't understand right away, at least not as quickly as I did before, then I'm just like, oh shit, I'm not smart enough to understand this. And there are a
Interesting.
lot of instances like that.
Okay.
Especially like when I was in college, some of that material was really difficult. So when I didn't understand, it's like, oh man, I'm not smart enough for this major. I'm a dumbass, you know. And there's and when you grew up thinking that you're smart and you're so capable, and you run into difficult things, and you see other people good at these subjects, and you're like, oh fuck, I'm a dumbass, you know. So then it's really demoralizing.
Yeah.
And but then because I had that fixed mindset, that's all I could think of. It's like, oh shit, what can I do? I guess this is just me. But then that sounds kind of ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to have a growth mindset where if something is difficult, you just, okay, that means I just have to spend more time. I either need to block out more time to tackle this, or maybe I need to get help from someone who understands it. Maybe it's the way that I'm approaching this subject that is a little bit unintuitive for me to understand it that quickly.
I see.
Yeah. So and that would be what a growth mindset person would do. They would try it from different angles and see what works and develop and grow. And then they would way more than not come out ahead than someone then that has a fixed mindset.
I see.
And so I began noticing that when I was in college, and after I left, after I graduated school, come out, and now because I'm not restricted to a certain major, I'm not restricted to a certain academic institution. Literally, the world opens up, and I can learn about everything that I possibly can.
That's
And that
exciting.
means that's exciting,
Yeah.
and that means there's gonna be a ton of things that I know nothing about and that are really bad at,
Yeah.
like really, really, really bad at, right?
Right.
Especially subjects that I've never really touched before,
Right.
like especially humanities,
Right.
subjects. I really like psychology, but
It's
before that, I
fascinating.
knew nothing about it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how to formulate a concise and strong opinion and write a nice paper about it.
Mm.
But it's something that I want to do. But with a fixed mindset, I wouldn't be able to do that.
I see.
Yeah. But anyway, because of all these endless possibilities for learning new things, but also endless possibilities to fail and realize how dumb I was, that really shone a spotlight into how my mindset has been a limiting factor for me. Because I thought I hadn't fixed my intelligence and my raw processing power is that, therefore I'm only able to understand these things.
I see.
So then that means if I run into something difficult, it's a lot easier for me to just quit.
Mm.
That's one consequence of that.
I see.
Because it's like, oh, it's difficult, then why should I do that? I should do something that I'm good at, something that matches my level of competence.
Mm.
So we were on the topic of mindset, right? How
Yeah.
our either conscious or subconscious decision to have this set of beliefs, this mindset that dictate what you think about every day, that would ultimately materialize into the actions, decisions that you make, and the consequential actions that you'll have.
Yeah.
That'll lead to your eventual life. So I was talking about my sort of fixed mindset in the past,
Yeah.
and what I'm trying to do now to shift it into a more growth mindset.
Is it hard?
Yeah, it's there's definitely a lot of friction.
A lot of friction.
So what I've been trying to do in order to make that shift
Yeah.
from fixed mindset to growth mindset is well, first of all, anyone that's interested, read Carol Dweck's book Mindset. Self-explanatory. It has a lot of good nuggets in there. And then the other part is I have to really understand that this requires change. And change is always difficult. There's always going to be this friction.
Yeah.
And there's this elasticity for my neuronal pathways to want to
Your
snap
chemical-
back into
yeah.
my regular patterns and my
Right.
old habits. So in order to make that change, there has to be a learning curve. There has to be some sort of transitional period where it's literally physically uncomfortable for
It's
me
like
to do
learning how to
so.
walk again, right?
Yeah. So I guess that will help me understand, okay, this feels like shit sometimes, but I'm making progress. And I know I'm making progress because this is hard and change is supposed to be hard.
Interesting.
And I would have to trust that if I switch to this new mindset of growth and abundance, then well, what growth? Then it will allow me to adopt strategies to literally learn and be good at anything
Okay.
I set my mind to, regardless of whether what my raw processing power is.
Right.
Because the other day I was telling you about how I had a mini revelation. This is still a work in progress. I don't know how true exactly this is, but this is just a glimpse of what I've been thinking about, where I refer to intelligence a lot as raw processing power. And I would sometimes in the past I would think you're smart enough to understand this, and if you're not smart enough, then you'll never get it. But no, it's just like maybe you have a slower processor for a certain subject.
Yeah.
It'll just take more time.
Yeah.
You might crank up the heat for your processor a little bit more, and you'll get it eventually. It just takes you more time. So because if you have a more powerful processor, it has more speed, takes less time.
I see.
Um,
I
And
see.
so that means anyone can understand anything given in enough time and with enough effort.
Right.
Some things are just easier for some people and hard for others.
So do you so now like the whole growth mindset is kind of new for you, right? So do you think like you're measuring this by the type of goals you're setting? Like how do you know that you are trying to make this change and how are you measuring?
I see. Right. How do I know
Yeah,
that
that
I'm
you're
actually
growing
making
towards,
this transition?
yeah.
A- so recently, a lot of it has been trying to catch myself thinking the thoughts that are characteristic of a fixed
Fixed
mindset.
mindset, I see.
Yeah. And sometimes I would have a visceral feeling as well, but those are harder to distinguish
Okay.
and recognize.
I see.
But actual thoughts, conversations that I'm having with myself, those I can catch. So sometimes I would think, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this because I don't get it. Maybe I should like delegate this to somebody else because I'm not really good at this.
Yeah.
Which is fine in some sense. I mean, it's fine in some cases,
Yeah.
some certain situations, depending on what it is. But I would have to be sure that this is something that you should delegate to somebody versus if I'm just making an excuse for myself
Right, right.
because I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
And that might be a consequence of me thinking that I won't ever understand something. So then I give up.
I see, I see. Yeah. It's interesting because in a sense I'm like complete opposite of you. The way I kind of grew up and I kind of have a mindset. Like I had a very like volatile childhood where I didn't have a very consistent education up until like middle of middle school. So I went to maybe like 4 or 5 different type of elementary school, like between Korea and America, and I don't really have a graduation degree or like I never graduated from elementary school. So because I was in the middle of moving, so I just kind of skipped the graduation and I went into middle school
In the US.
in the US.
Okay.
So I vaguely remember going to first grade and then I went to New Zealand for like a year, which kind of, skipped the whole grade.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
never heard of New Zealand
Yeah.
in your life.
Yeah, when I was 8.
Okay.
Yeah. When I was 8, I went for a year and then
Ah.
came back. So now I'm in third grade. I skipped the whole second grade. Over there, I learned a little bit of English, like with private, just like English tutoring, but that's it. Right. Came back third grade, went to school for about like a couple months, and then my family decides to move to America. Right. Came here. We can't go into school in the middle of the year, so we wait a whole 6 months to go into fourth grade. Right.
Oh.
So
Wow,
I'm going.
Okay. Yeah, so you had like what, a year and a half in Korea?
Yeah.
Wow.
So went into fourth grade, but again I moved again, right? And then I was in fifth grade for a little bit, but some things happened, and then I went into sixth grade, and I think sixth grade is a middle school, right?
Yeah, like starting from fifth or sixth,
Yeah.
something like that.
So it's really weird because in transition, I went from a Korean school system to American school system, but like my my language wasn't fully developed either in Korean nor English.
Oh, because you keep flipping back and forth.
Right.
Oh,
So I have basic communication down, but like nothing like academia, right?
okay.
So no, looking back now, it was a lot of challenge, and it was really hard for me to adjust in learning in middle school. Other like except math. Math was pretty easy for me because like
Okay.
in Asia you learn math pretty fast. But history, English, humanities, all these other things was like so difficult for me, and I didn't know that it was difficult. I just kind of like avoided it all the way, and I always got through it through just not raw processing power like you said, but more about figuring it out, like what is the homework asking me to do, and then I would just figure out how to get the answer to that.
Okay.
Not that I understood the material and then gave the definition you needed. It's like like the textbook has a bold letters. It's like, I'll write down these definitions, right? So
okay.
I'll find a bold letters. I will just know what to do as a sequence or a system.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like
Because I don't know how to read English or understand what it's saying from the textbook, right?
that's dope.
Right.
You figured out a strategy to get the right answers without the proper route.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so-
like literal street smarts in in homework.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
what's interesting is like that worked until like middle school or whatever, right? But in high school, everybody was like pretty competitive, right? And by the time I went to high school, I took algebra 3 times because every time I moved, they put me in algebra again.
Oh, okay. That's like the default class they stick you in.
Yeah.
I see.
So I'm just like, I took algebra 3 times. Everything seems easy. I'm just cruising. And in high school, I actually really didn't do well either because for a fact, I knew I wasn't going to college because I didn't have my green card. And I know you can't go to college without a green card because you're not going to get financial aid. So I knew I was going to community college. So I was like, okay, I just need a 2.0. So all I did was just play sports and hang out with my friends after school, So I just literally grew up just figuring shit out, like street smart and like just working all the time. Just working, getting into the workforce really early in the service industry. And I got by okay through the education system, but opposite of you, I had this like immense like the need to learn. Like I craved mentorship and like I craved some kind of answer, right? But I could never get it. Could never figure it out, or it's even now it's kind of difficult, right? And I would always fall back to the type of system I had to map stuff out and figure out, right? Even in college, I don't even know how I got through my major, but I got through it because of that muscle that I built.
Okay.
Trying to figure stuff out.
That's impressive to do because your field is really technical.
It's very technical, right? So, but I just knew from the history that if I just do it enough, like I would understand, it'll just become natural, right? I just had that embedded in my system.
Okay.
Just like going into the workforce early, like learning how to serve, learning how to bust a table, learning how to sell, retail, all those things. It was such a daunting experience in the beginning, learning how to approach a customer to sell vitamins, right? As like an 18-year-old, it's daunting, right?
Yeah.
So, but I just knew you get better as you practice,
Okay.
right?
So you
And
had firsthand experience of that growth.
yeah, so
Okay.
I didn't know that was a growth thing, but I just knew that if you do it enough as a practice, like sports, because I'm a sports athlete, high school athlete. So if you do it enough, it'll just get,
Wow. Okay.
better at it, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. It is really contrasting
Yeah. But
to my experience.
for me, what's interesting is now I'm kind of um, hindered by not having that fundamentals. So I'm always trying to kind of ground myself into learning the fundamentals when I learn something, because if I keep on doing the way I do things, it seems like I always go around in like a circle.
Okay, because you try to go for you try to get the end result like with your own strategy. How can I
Right,
get there? How can I
right,
get there?
right.
Instead of setting the foundation
Yeah.
first so that it can propel you to there.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's how we work so well
Yeah.
together, because I have the opposite problem.
I-
Like if I want to build an app, like typically people just, oh cool, they just slap some shit on together. You know,
Yeah.
open up the development, the IDE.
Yeah.
You know, write some XML
Just do it,
and
right?
you do it. And for me, it's like, okay, I gotta figure out how to set up, and how do I have to
What does
learn.
this mean?
I have to learn like OOP. I have to learn everything. I have to learn Java, and
Yeah.
just
So what's the
right.
difference between Java and this thing?
Yeah.
What is you go into like a bunch of
Exactly,
different
and then
rabbit holes.
I like go way too fundamental.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, that's like an artifact of how I grew up.
What's interesting is that I do remember when I was young, I did have that phase. Like I was very like attached to having specific set of things and like going into like wanting to know everything, right? But through the experience of moving so frequently, like I couldn't keep my environments like organized, so I was forced to just like start from scratch all the time.
You had to figure it out on the
Adapt,
fly constantly.
yeah, constantly. So I just like naturally build that muscle, right? And it's a benefit and also like a disadvantage in a sense, but yeah, that's how I came about building my mindset. But realized that books are actually a great mentor. And a lot of times when you're learning something, there's a guide that makes it easy for you to understand how to use that system. But for me, my personality will just go at it.
Oh, go okay.
Yeah. There's a documentation on how to use an IDE, but for me it's like, okay, open the IDE, start pressing buttons. You know, what does this do? Just break shit.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just break shit. And that's how I learn.
Okay.
So
That's dope. Yeah. That's honestly, I think that's a really good way.
Yeah.
To just go and mess with things and see what happens. And
Yeah.
it's a really good approach for
Yeah.
like.
So for
the
me,
developer.
it's like at work too. It's like I have to catch myself from doing that, and then try to spend the time to learn the fundamentals. Because previously, I think I was more chased by time. That because moving around a lot and just kind of being chased all the time, you're always focused about the result. I gotta get this shit done, right? But now that like I'm in a more like stable environment, like they don't really mark you off for being late or things like that. They just want you to do the job right. So I'm just trying to focus when I catch myself to learn the fundamentals correctly. So then like it's just kind of like embedded inside me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So creating a good system, like before I was building system without knowing, but now I want to like learn like what is the recipe of building a good system.
Okay, I see. Right, and that foundation stays with you, so you can use it again when you're tackling a new problem.
Right.
Okay.
When I need to. It's like
I
the
see.
recognition of which tool to use at which situations.
That makes sense, and
Yeah.
that evens you out,
Yeah.
right? That gives you that balance.
Yeah.
So that's important. So then, I guess for me, in order to achieve that balance, I need to adopt your approach. Is to just go
Just
press
break shit.
buttons and break shit, just stitch things together and see if they work or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I, it's crazy thinking about it.
Yeah.
Before, when I was a kid, especially, I grew up thinking there's a proper way to do things. This is a little Asian kid growing up in an Asian school in Asia. Everything is like you got to do this, this, and that, and that's it. Even with
Yeah.
humanities,
Yeah.
there's like a right answer. There's a right way to write an essay. It's
Interesting.
kind of insane.
Yeah.
But because of that, then I have this automatic presumption that there's a right way to do this. But that's not how life is.
Right.
There's never a right way to do that. In fact, that's the whole reason I'm trying to get the hell away from the usual typical scripted life.
Right.
TM. Yeah, it's like there's no right way to do it. And I don't want to do it the traditional way.
Yeah.
I'm going to carve it out myself and
Yeah.
figure shit out.
Yeah, for me it's like opposite because I have so many instances of building an IKEA furniture, and I would just like skim through the instruction, not like look at it properly, and I would just like piece it together by how I see the pieces.
Oh, okay.
But there's so many times I would have to take it apart again because I put it the wrong way,
Oh.
right? And it's like you think you learn after the first time and read the instruction next time correctly, right? But no, this experience happened over and over again for me. But what's cool is that when you do make the mistake and you take stuff apart and you learn it the hard way, you become faster at rebuilding.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Cause you know what to do, right?
Right.
So that's what's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. But
And next time, if you're building the same thing again, you know what doesn't work, and you know exactly what works.
yeah. And this is interesting because like going into the whole entrepreneurship and business, there's more risk involved. Before, like with the IKEA, there's less risk. There's no like you're not breaking an arm, you're not losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. But with business, I'm trying to be more fundamental because of like business. Like one mistake could like just sink you under. You know what I mean? So it is crucial that you have fundamental things down and you take calculated risks, right? That's like a big term in business,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So that's the reason why I want to try to become a better fundamental person, to become a better businessman. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like you know how we're always saying that a balance is everything.
Yeah.
It's like the most like really important to achieve that balance, and the best results come from having a balance. So, you evening yourself out is a really good approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I should adopt the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that are listening and watching, if you feel like you're leaning one way or the other, if you're like John, where you just start going and mess with stuff and see what works and see what doesn't, then maybe devote some time into learning why things are built the way they are, and focus on fundamentals or the proper way. If what you're doing is not working, or when there's more at stake, when there's a greater chance of catastrophic failure, then that's
Yeah.
good. Then you're even out. Or if you're like me, where you're always following things to the T, you're reading, like, because I built IKEA furnitures the opposite way. I like page 2. Okay, I put this in that in there, like precisely according to the manual. If you're more like me, then maybe just go out and try new shit, and just if you have an idea, just implement it now and just throw it and see what happens. As long as it's not something that's super critical,
Right.
that can have really heavy consequences. You can just go try it out, and if it doesn't work,
Yeah.
then with tendencies that are similar to mine, you already would have like this path of foundation that you try to build along the way.
Yeah, it's
But it
better
wouldn't
to
just be up in the air.
it's better to try it on the things that has less impact than
Right.
when you have bigger impact to decisions to make. You know, you don't
Yeah.
want to try it later down the road where you have bigger decisions to make. Yeah, and again, for those who are kind of interested in the whole goal setting, we have our like mastermind goal setting experience documented on our blog. And you can find that at passiveincomesamurai.com, right?
Yeah.
So there's a mastermind section. You can check it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Our group of friends got together to do the whole exercise. You can see what we wrote down as our goals, so you can get some insight and examples of like what those goals can be. And I highly recommend you could do it with yourself or your loved one, your girlfriend. Just sit down together and just do it.
Yeah, just do it and try it out. And if you really like it, do a mastermind yourself, because like everything's on there. It's like the rubric, the structure. You can take what you like, add other things you want to put in there, and just host your own. I really recommend it. Try it at least once with like some of your close friends. You'd be surprised. Like the group that we roll with, the six of us, we thought we knew like most about each other, but then like that weekend, like within one conversation, we're like, I didn't know
We knew
you
nothing
wanted
about
to.
each
Yeah,
other.
I didn't know you wanted to do this or that. Like,
Yeah.
wow, that's so fascinating.
Yeah. And everybody has self-discoveries too. They're like, whoa, I didn't think that I have to do this now. Like they always
That's
just had a
true. Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. There's
but
like mini
writing it
revelations
down,
popping off all the
yeah,
time.
yeah, because writing it down makes you realize how short or long of a time you have to do that. So it helps you for like to not to think about some certain things. You can think about certain things later down the road. So you can focus on certain things now. And yeah, that was also very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Try it out. So I think this is a good place to end.
Yeah.
That'll conclude episode
5.
5.
Cool. I'll see you guys next time.
Yep. We don't have a proper outro yet. We'll have that soon. But for now, peace.